didn't want to get to the end of my football career and be riddled with injuries and, you know, not be able to run once I'd stopped playing. So that was the reason why I've gone a little bit earlier, still feeling fit. And, you know, I still felt like I could have played in the Welsh Prem. There's no one else to blame, if you like. But the harder I work, the better the results will be. I think running can be quite cool and look quite sexy at times on Instagram, where it's not, we all know that's not always real. I think I'll miss the lads and the camaraderie. I think that's, you know, what most footballers stop playing. They say they miss the changing room. But I think I'm trying to sort of fill that void through the running club. My name's Kieran Smith. I am the founder, I guess, of the Kilometre Club in Chester. Fairly keen runner. Just training for Munich Marathon in 8 weeks' time.
You've also got a sporting background. Tell me a little bit about that. And because that has now come to an end, how was that decision made?
Yeah, so I've always been a keen footballer. I played since I was 7-ish, up until obviously the season just gone really. So I was at Bala for 11 years in the Welsh Premier League. Really enjoyed it. Obviously, made over 300 appearances in the end for Bala. Played in Europe 16 times, I think it was in the end. So we had some great trips abroad and, you know, unforgettable experiences. We won the Welsh Cup, we won the League Cup. Qualified for Europe a lot, regularly finishing in the top end of the table really. But just got to that point, I think, where it takes its toll a little bit, you know, after 11 years of travelling to Bala. Not only to Bala, you travel obviously to South Wales and Mid Wales, and you play the same teams quite often. There's only 12 teams in the league, so you do end up playing some teams 4 times in the league, and then if you draw them in the cup, you've got them 5 times. Occasionally you play a team 6 times if you draw them in both cups. It can just get a bit repetitive sometimes, and I think towards the back end of last season, although I was enjoying it, I think I was enjoying it because I knew that in my head I'd mentally sort of decided that at the end of the season that was going to be the end. I'm still only I'm 32, so I'm quite young, I suppose, in terms of retirement. But obviously with that other passion that I've got in running and wanting to do all these marathons and aspirations to run across the world really, I just felt like it was a good time to leave and still have that fitness. I didn't want to get to the end of my football career and be riddled with injuries and, you know, not be able to run once I'd stopped playing. So that was the reason why I've gone a little bit earlier, still feeling fit, and, you know, I still felt like I could have played in the Welsh Prem, but the running sort of took priority these days, I suppose, and that's why the decision that I've made really.
You mentioned like the other passion of running. It was obvious like you had those 2 passions, and balancing them was probably quite hard when it came to football and running. Where did running start to become a thing that you really wanted to kind of pursue?
Yeah, I guess since I started the running club, so I started the Kilometre Club just before lockdown. Is that 2020, 2021?
Yeah, mad.
Yeah. Started just before that, obviously with the intention of meeting people and running, and then obviously lockdown hit. So after, I think we did 2 or 3 runs as a group, obviously only a small group at that time. We went into lockdown, so, you know, we couldn't meet up and run socially. So at the start, it was quite difficult. We were just sort of creating challenges online to keep people active, and everyone seemed to get into running through lockdown, so it worked quite well, to be fair. Everyone wanted to go out and test their 5k PBs. I remember that time on Strava, everyone was just blasting themselves, weren't they? Trying to get the best time possible. So I think in a way it was a good time for us to set up. You know, we just beat the trend, if you like. Everyone was getting into running. We'd already sort of established ourselves as a local running club. So when the lockdown was eased and we started to meet up and run socially, people wanted to come along. But I think that's when, my real passion started for it. I'd always enjoyed it running throughout sort of the football season, and then maybe, you know, I'd run a lot more in pre-season trying to get fit to go back to football. But I'd say in the last sort of 4 to 5 years, that's when I've really just started, I guess, seeing that I was a half decent runner and thought, you know, I could, you know, develop and improve what I've got here. So I'd say the last 4 or 5 years seriously, and then before that I was just running as and when really.
I was going to say, was there a moment where that switch flicked and you thought, this could be something I can pursue here?
Not massively. I mean, I was always doing the Chester 10k, the Chester half marathon, just because it was on our doorstep. And, you know, my times were getting better and people were saying, oh, you know, you're quite a decent runner. And that was probably my best attribute as a footballer, I'd say, is the ability to run. And I was a midfielder back then, and I could run up and down the pitch, and I had that engine and endurance, if you like. So I think just through that, people said, you're obviously a good runner. And then I just started signing up for more races a bit further afield. And then I think you just get the bug for it. I think it's so easy just to get into running. You see progress so quickly. It's quite addictive. And I know obviously you're a keen runner as well. I'm sure you can relate to that as well. But yeah, for me, there's nothing better than going for a run and the feeling you get after it. I think that's what's kept me interested and kept me addicted, if you like.
In terms of the club, because you mentioned like starting it before lockdown, where was that idea born? And what was the reason you decided to put yourself out there and kind of become the figurehead of this thing that is now massive?
It's a strange one, really. I went to New Zealand to play football for 6 months, and a team called Tasman in the South Island in a little place called Nelson, and we trained 2 or 3 times a week. And it was more like it was an experience, if you like. It wasn't like I was going to play full-time football and it was going to change my life and the money was great. It was just like a 6-month life experience. I had a lot of time on my hands in between football, and I was almost thinking, what can I do, or what do I want to do when I go back home? And the sort of idea formed then. I was thinking that there actually wasn't any running clubs in New Zealand at the time either. I don't know why it come to me, but I was just doodling in a little diary I had. I thought, I could make a running club when I get back and get me back to meeting people. And I don't think there was anything like it in Chester, but I always quite enjoyed running. A few of my friends did, but not many. And I wanted to, it was a good opportunity for me to see them, is encourage them to come on a run with me. At first, it was just my brother and a couple of my mates. And then obviously it's just sort of spiraled, if you like, from there. I think, there was no real, I didn't see another running club doing it. I wasn't influenced massively by anything else. It was more of a case of, I want to start running more. I want to see my mates more. I'll tell them to come and join the club, and it's sort of just gone from there, really.
And it's mad to see kind of the progress, not only of the Kilometre Club, but all of these running clubs now, right across the UK, from small when they start around COVID, most of them, to kind of now where you're getting photos. I know KMC had a meet last night on a Wednesday night at 6:30, and that photo in the centre of Chester that was shared on the page, it's insane. To get that amount of people together, that wouldn't happen without you having that initial thought. Does it kind of feel weird sometimes to kind of take a step back and think, I've created this here?
I mean, I'm extremely proud of it, I'll be honest with you. And when you see, like you say, you see that photo last night, I think there was about 50 people had come out on a Wednesday evening after work, and it was roasting yesterday, so it's easy for people to say, no, I'm not going to bother. But people turn up, and then you go away, and you actually, when you look back at the photo, you think, yeah, we brought all these people together that I don't know what they would have done without that last night. Would they have just gone home and sat on the sofa? Would they have gone to a gym? Or we brought a lot of people together, and there's relationships have been formed, there's friendships been formed. It's great to see people that would never have crossed paths, if you like, getting on, and everyone's so welcoming at the club. We've created such a great bunch that I'm really proud of it. There's no denying that I'm proud of it.
Does it feel weird to take a step back and think about that, though, when somebody like me is asking you questions about it? To think, well, I've actually created this, because it's not something you do, is it? You don't take a step back and you don't think when you've kind of been in the grind of building something. But I guess it's a good thing to do from time to time. Yeah,
you're right. I think you don't do that often enough. You're always just thinking of the next thing, or you're trying to organise the next run or plan the next month, or you just tick them off almost. And then it's until you speak to someone or you look back at old photos. We had our summer party a few months back, and one of the girls printed off a load of photos from when we originally started, and I used to be over the moon with 6, 7, 8 people coming to a run, and then you just see the progress. I think probably in the last year and a half, it's really grown. But until you actually look back and just see the faces of much younger faces of our original members, you don't really, it's crazy to look back at it. And I know, you see people and a running club starting off now, and I think I've spoken about this before. There was this one occasion in, shucking it down on a Sunday morning, and me and two of the lads turned up. One of them was hungover, one of them was late, and I was thinking, what am I doing here? Like this, what's the point? But I'm almost so glad that morning happened in a way, because the two lads, they went away and felt better about themselves. I went away feeling better about myself after the run. And without those difficult moments and them rainy runs or them low attendance runs, I don't think you'll really appreciate the bigger moments and the big runs like what we had last night.
You mentioned that moment, two boys turning up hungover, late, and obviously you there at hammering it down, and that's quite an interesting thing that you said. When it was done, you knew they felt better, you felt better. That was a great feeling, and that feeling of kind of pride for people at the club must be reoccurring, because there are so many people in all clubs that go away and smash their own personal goals or go and do races in a place they may have not gone before if they didn't find running. What's that like for you to see everybody kind of having these own goals and smashing them?
Yeah, it's mental. The amount of people that have signed up for half marathons and marathons now, and there's a few of the guys at the club that only joined a few months back and they're already training for a marathon. You just get that bug so easily, and I think at the start, particularly as you're a beginner, the progress is, once you're stuck at it, the first few runs are gross. I completely agree, but once you're stuck at it, you see progress so quickly, and I think that's why people get so addicted to it. But obviously also, people feel welcome and warm at the club. That's why they keep coming back. But yeah, it's just looking on Strava every morning. We're both morning runners, but when you go on and you get your kudos off the same people every day, because you know that they've been on Strava that morning and also done their run, so that's why they're on there. It's inspiring. I went on the other day when I hadn't ran. I just did a gym session or something instead, and the amount of people from the club that had already ran that morning or that afternoon is just, yeah, it's unbelievable. It's inspiring. They've all got their own goals. Obviously, we're all at different paces and, working towards different things. And they obviously, they train on their own sometimes, but when they come together, you can talk about your goals. Everyone's welcome to discuss what they're training towards, and everyone's been in that position before, so it's a great environment to be in. And us as runners, we love talking about running, and sure, I know you do for sure as well. But yeah, it's great, and that they sometimes get me out the door. There's days when I don't want to run, but I've seen 20-30 people from the club have already been on their run, so get yourself out, get your shoes on.
And that's quite cool, actually, to hear from someone like yourself, who's obviously kind of the figurehead of the Kilometre Club. And there will be these people that are kind of figureheads of clubs around the country, and a lot of club runners that are listening to this, who will look at that person and think, oh, they never struggle to get out the door. But to just hear that from you, being like, no, sometimes I am the person that needs to see other people, whether it be from the club or that you follow on Strava, getting out the door and running, because without that, I might not have done my run myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if you're the same, but when I go out in the car or going to work and I see someone running, I get jealous. I get envious. When my girlfriend's in the car with me and we're driving past the runner, I'm always checking, to see if I know them for starters, looking at their form, and she goes, "You're jealous of him or her, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, I wish I was out running, or I wish I'd have gone out this morning. Yeah. So yeah, other people inspire me to run. There's no doubt about that. It's not every day I want to get up and run. There are days which are a struggle, but just open Strava for 5 minutes and you'll soon get out the door.
The worst thing for me is if I'm hosting a race, which I obviously love to do, but there's people there that I know, and then you go and have a conversation with them after about how the race was, and they've got that medal around their neck, and you just get such bad envy. I was like that at like Chester Half and Chester 10K this year, when the Kilometre Club had massive meets and loads of people running those events. And coming and seeing everybody afterwards and seeing everybody with those medals, I was like, I'm so jealous here. I really want to do it.
Yeah, I've tried not to do the Chester ones as much, just because I like to be present and encourage other people. We're trying to create a bit of like a cheer squad at a few of them recently. But I always make sure I've got a race in either the week before or the week after, because I know for a fact I'll be super jealous. For example, this October the 6th is the Chester Marathon and the Chester Metric. I'll be there obviously cheering everyone on. and I'll be super jealous at the time. But I know the next week, obviously, it's my turn in Munich, so that'll at least get me through the jealousy.
Right, that's a good place to move on to your running journey, which obviously I want to cover. This is going to be the first time that you're all in on a marathon. You've got no football. When I say all in, like you've got no football season or no football to kind of think about getting fit for. What do you think is going to be different in this build, and what do you hope to be different in this build?
Yeah, so I think obviously the last 3 marathons that I've done, they've been at the end of the football season, so either a week or 2, or I think max was 3 weeks after the end of the last game of the season. So I was juggling, obviously, from January, if you like, football and running at the same time, trying to get the miles in whilst trying to play football. And I think, as much as I'm not making excuses, but you can't. It's so hard to juggle both. Basically, obviously, you train with football, and then obviously the game at the weekend is obviously the priority. So, say you're playing on a Saturday, Friday's a rest day, so you don't run. Saturday, you've got a game, so you don't run, and then Sunday, you usually aching or recovering from the game, so you only do a little run. So it basically affects 3 days of your training plan straight away, and that's not even taking into consideration the your football training on the other nights of the week as well. So I think I was finding it not difficult to juggle both, but not doing as much as I would have liked to. So I was also almost just settling for a certain amount of mileage each week, whereas this time, like you say, I've got no distractions. Monday to Sunday is just running. That's all I think about is what running I'm doing next, or what I'm doing to help my running. So the main thing is obviously by increasing the mileage. That's the main priority that I've taken into this training block. But it's getting those 3 days back's massive. The day before, the day of a game, and the day after a game. It's just allowing me to do lot more than I was doing previously. So I'm hoping that's going to allow me to achieve the goal of a sub 250. Now, I was 3 minutes short in Copenhagen, and I was 5 minutes short in London. The first one in Edinburgh, to be fair, I just wanted to go sub 3, and I got 253 there. So, yeah, I'm hoping basically that this no more distractions and this 100% focus on running is going to help me knock 3 minutes off this time round in Munich, basically.
And having 3 in your past as well, like you learn lessons from every single race you do. What have been the lessons that you've taken out of those 3 marathons in the past, and what will you take into Munich? Yeah,
I mean, Edinburgh, it was a complete learning curve. Obviously, that was my first one. Didn't really know what to expect. The dreaded 20-mile mark hit me, and I was obviously close. Well, I was fighting cramp for the last 10k. But to get over the line in 2:53, I was absolutely buzzing there, and like I said, I just wanted to go sub 3, so to knock 7 minutes off, I was ecstatic. And then London, that allowed me to qualify for London the next year. I think with London, if I sort of looking back now, it was all quite overwhelming. It's like so busy. It was raining as well the morning of the event. Not making excuses, but I had me brand new Vaporflies on, which my feet got soaked, and my socks got soaked within 5 minutes. And it was just chaos. We obviously on different waves, and they sort of merged together, and that road was just mental. Again, 20-mile mark for me, hit that dreaded. I was cramping again, and I think a lot of what I thought at London is maybe my nutrition and hydration wasn't quite where it should be at. So in Copenhagen, I tried to work on that a little bit. Lost a little bit of weight in the lead up to Copenhagen. Improved my diet, improved my hydration and fueling and that sort of thing. And yeah, I saw the improvement in that. Again, still felt like I struggled from 20 miles on. And then, but it's still come away with a better time. So yeah, I'm just thinking this time round, increased mileage, you just have to look at the pro runners, the amount of mileage those guys do. I think essentially the more you run, the better you become. And with obviously you need to stop yourself from getting injured at the same time, so do it gradually. But that's the intention this time round, is to increase the mileage and become a stronger runner, basically.
Because it feels like you've kind of come straight out of football and jumped straight into running, and obviously you've had that crossover period of that few years as well. When you're not in a build, when the football season has started, do you think you're going to miss it, or have you fully accepted that this is kind of like the next chapter now?
Do you know what? Obviously, the football season started last week, and Bala had Barry away on Saturday afternoon. And obviously, I've still got a lot of friends at Bala, and I speak to them quite a lot. And just the whole thought of travelling down to South Wales on the Friday, staying over, playing football, coming back on the Saturday afternoon, I didn't miss it one bit, in all honesty. Now, once Munich's out the way in October, obviously I've got something to focus on for the next 8 weeks. Once that's out the way in October, I wonder then maybe if I would miss it, potentially. However, it'll be going into the winter months, and travelling to Bala in the winter, trust me, it's not pretty. And the South Wales journeys in December and January are pretty grim. So, you know what? I don't think I will. I think I'll miss the lads and the camaraderie. I think that's, what most footballers stop playing. They say they miss the changing room. But I think I'm trying to sort of fill that void through the running club, and I still get to socialise with loads of people on a weekly basis at our runs as well. So I think once Munich's out the way, I'll have a little bit of recovery, and then I'll be focusing on the next run, hopefully qualify for London. I've got aspirations of doing Seville potentially. I've got a friend who lives in Dubai, and he's like, "When you come out and see me and do the Dubai marathon?" So I think I'll just look at the next one really, and go from there. Just keep chipping away at them.
You've got a few things planned, mate. For the Kilometre Club, where does that go from here? Because it's come to a point we've already talked about, from those rainy mornings with 3 lads to now 50 plus people on a Wednesday, sometimes 3 figures on a weekend. What's the next thing?
Yeah, so we're looking to branch out to Wrexham. We had our first run there last week. Mainly because I've got quite a few friends that live in that area. We've got quite a few followers on the page who are from Wrexham, and there was interest there that I put it out a few months back about if anyone would be interested to set up in Wrexham. So we're looking to branch out. Basically, we had 45 there last week. I'm going to do another one next month in September, with the potential then to sort of roll out on a more regular basis, whether that's weekly. Or, at the minute we do 3 runs in Chester a week. So, there's potential there for one day maybe to do 2 or 3 times a week. But for now, we're going to do it once a month, see how it goes up until the end of the year. And then potentially look at sort of franchising, branching out, if you like, to do Chester and Wrexham from the new year. That's the plan, I think. And as well, try and grow the club in Chester as much as possible. We work with a lot of local businesses, whether that be coffee shops, gyms, yoga instructors, personal trainers. We work with a lot of people, and I just want to sort of keep growing that and working with as many people as we can.
Obviously, you've got a day job as well. That was alongside football. Football's now gone. Would you ever want this to be your full-time thing, your full-time gig, like to make running the thing that lets you live?
I don't know. To be fair, it's not something I've really thought about. I enjoy my full-time job. I'll be honest. It's nice to switch off from football and obviously running now, and have that something different going on. I think if I was just 100% on running, it'd probably just overtake. My brain would just be overrun. It's nice to think I have something completely different. My full-time job is different to this. So I'm not too sure. I mean, the idea is great, just concentrate on running and growing your running club. I think that's a great idea, but at the same time, you never quite know what's in the future. I think, running's super popular at the minute. Will there be something else that becomes popular in a year or two's time? Hopefully not, hopefully everyone keeps running and the club continues to grow. But I don't know if I'm being pessimistic there or just realistic that you just never know what's in the future. So at the minute I'm enjoying having the full-time job and running the running club as well.
Why do you think that explosion happened? From someone that was in it, like you were literally at the nucleus of the explosion because you just started a club. Like, why do you think that was something that did happen and has happened over the last few years?
Yeah, I mean, I think firstly, lockdown, I think that we were allowed out once a day. Obviously, no one could go to a gym. So the only sort of form of exercise was walking or running. So I think that encourages a lot of people just to get their trainers back out or to buy a new pair of trainers and get into it. And then obviously once the lockdown was eased, I think the development of run clubs and people not socialising for a year or two, I think it was just the perfect match. You've got people who were running on their own and not being able to socialise, and then all of a sudden you've got the option to run in a big group. I think it was just two worlds collided, if you like, and I think that's why it's grown so much. But I do think obviously on Instagram, it's very well influenced at the minute, if you like. There's a lot of people with a lot of followers who are into running, and I think that does play a part in it a little bit. I think running can be quite cool and look quite sexy at times on Instagram, where it's not, we all know that's not always real. But yeah, I think a combination of that really, and I think, like I said earlier, I think the progress that you get from running, I think you see progress so early on that I think it keeps people interested and think, what could I do next? What PB can I achieve next? Or I think that's probably why it's been so popular.
I would have loved to have seen a reel on that day that we've talked about a couple of times in this conversation, where one of your mates was hungover, one of them was late, it was hammering it down. Sometimes you do look at it, and I think sometimes it can be a bit of an issue, like when you're constantly seeing people smash things, when you're constantly seeing people get PBs or being abroad, the sun shining. Like, it is important to realise that it's not always like that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You see people on Instagram with the nice goggles on and the nice trainers and the vests on and the heart rate monitor on and the expensive. It's not realistic for everybody. You start getting into running, everyone says it's cheap and it's free, but you can soon run down that sort of rat hole, if you like, and you can spend an absolute fortune on it if you want to. So I think at the running club we have got real people that do understand running is not as sexy as it looks on Instagram. And like you say, that would have been funny to get a reel of the three of us that morning. I don't think anyone would ever have attended the Kilometre Club again, but it would have been good to sort of look back. Maybe we'll have to remake one of those. That'd be quite funny.
It is weird as well, though, because sometimes they're the mornings that feel the best, aren't they? They're the mornings that you feel the most fulfilled, when you really cannot be asked to go out the door, when it is hammering it down, when it is dark, when it is the winter. Like, they're the ones where you really want to give yourself a pat on the back and be like, well done for getting out there today.
No, absolutely. I think, as I mentioned off air before, I went for a run this morning with my mate in Hoylake. Both of us are training for a marathon, and we had a long one to do today. We've both got plans this weekend, so we're like, right, we need to get our long run in together this morning. Excuse me. So, when that alarm goes off at 5:15, and you think, what on earth am I doing here? Like, it was actually still dark at 5:15, and obviously most times I get up in the morning, it's nice and light, and I'm thinking, I've got to drive to Hoylake, which is 35-40 minutes away, run 20 miles, which is never pretty anyway, and it's always bloody windy down in Hoylake, and then drive all the way back and get back for work. So there's times when you don't want to do it, but honestly, the feeling you get after it, and you've cleared your training peak, so you've done that run that day. What a feeling! For me, there's no better feeling than completing a run in the morning, and then you can crack on with the rest of your day.
Going back to football, when you look at that and you think, you played that your whole life, you're 32 now, and you've put a cap on that, football's done. Running's begun now, it began a few years ago, and you've got the rest of your life now to kind of focus on running. It's weird, because when you play a team sport, it's going to come to an end. Like, you knew at some point you would stop playing football. With running, do you see there ever being an end, or do you think that this is something you're going to do forever now?
I think you've got to be lucky with injury. I think that's an important part. But you see people at races. We've all been through when there's someone a lot older than you comes flying past you, and you think, "Wow, how is he doing that? Or how is she doing that?" So there's longevity in running, and I think that's another thing that attracts you to it. That I'm hoping to stay injury free, and I can run for another 20, 30 years maybe. But I think in this next sort of 7 to 8 years up until I'm 40, I feel like that's the time for me to really push on and hit PBs and achieve everything I want to achieve in terms of traveling and doing the marathons abroad. And then obviously once I'm a bit older and family life takes over, I think I'll slow down a bit in terms of what I want to achieve and just chill out a little bit. I say that now, but probably won't chill out a little bit. But yeah, for me, I think the 30s is when I really want to go abroad and do this marathon, go abroad and do that marathon, and then before I have to settle down and do family life, really.
You've kind of got the team aspect of football with the club as well. But is it weird now that the athletic endeavour is literally just down to you? Like, if you mess up, it's your fault.
Yeah, and I quite like that in a sense. It's all on me. There's no one else to blame, if you like. The harder I work, the better the results will be. And don't get me wrong, like this morning, and we've run a few times. It's nice to get out and run with people, and I do try and do that quite regularly. But sometimes as well, it is also quite nice just getting out, running on your own, having that just me time. Get your session done, get yourself back home. So yeah, I can see the pros to sort of running on your own, but I can also, I think there's a lot more pros in running as a group. So everyone should run as a group. That's what I'm trying to say.
Get the promo in. That is a plug. For people that are listening to this now, mate, and they've been thinking to themselves, I'm seeing all these running clubs all over Instagram, wherever they are in the country. Like, there's so many clubs now popping up. From somebody that is head of one, somebody that runs one, what would be kind of your elevator pitch, I guess, to get somebody to go down to a club if they're maybe feeling a bit nervous, maybe thinking, oh, but I'm so slow, I don't know if I'd be able to do that? What would you say to them?
Yeah, firstly, I'd encourage everyone to try it. There's no harm in going once, but also if you could, there's a few in Chester now, and I think you can sort of, through Instagram or through speaking to someone, you can sort of spot the difference between each of the running clubs I find personally. So maybe just find one that you feel is most applicable to you. I think there's different demographics, there's different paces in the running clubs in Chester. And there's no harm in just messaging someone and asking, can I find out a bit more information? How often do you run? Where do you meet? How fast are you? Do as much digging as you can before you turn up at one of these runs. But also just say, when you do arrive at one of the runs, everyone who's there has been in your position before. So everyone knows what it feels like. And I think, me personally, and I'll always make you feel welcome, but I think everyone at the club as well knows that can be quite a daunting situation, just rocking up at your first running club and you stand there and you perhaps don't know anyone. And I think particularly at our running club, I think people do try and make you feel welcome, introduce themselves. And I think you'll always feel better after the run than you do beforehand as well. That nervousness or that anxiety that you're feeling beforehand, I bet it's not there after the run. So I would always encourage someone to try it out. No harm in doing something once, but I guarantee once you've been once, you'll want to come again.
And we'll finish with this, mate. But I'd be silly not to ask what the goals are. You've got 8 weeks now until your marathon. What do you hope to be feeling the day before? What position do you hope you're in at that point? And when you cross that finish line, what's the goal, and what do you hope to look down and see?
Yeah, I think the day before the race, you just want to feel confident, you want to feel fit, you want to feel like you've done everything that you can to put yourself in the best position. We both know that it doesn't always happen on the day. Anything can happen on a marathon. Things that might not have happened in training can sometimes occur on the race day. Sometimes it's just not your day, but I think put yourself in the best position possible, which I will try and do the day before the race. And then, I think they say, don't they, you're meant to enjoy the marathon itself. You've done all the hard work. Go out there, enjoy yourself, do what you've been doing for the last, I know it's easier said than done that. Yeah. Go out and enjoy yourself. You've put 12, 16 weeks work into this. And for me personally, I would like to go sub 250. So if that means 249.59, I'll take it right now.